Hi everyone, welcome to Biology 120 Lab for this term of SNHU. I'll be your instructor for the lab. My name is Dr. Janie Sigmon. I go by Janie. You'll see my name is Melody, which is my first name, but I go by Janie. And you may call me Dr. Sigmon, Janie, Doc, whatever you like, Professor Sigmon. I'm okay with whatever. I will try to make a video every single week to help you get through the information that we're going to cover and to give you some tips and also to tell you the logistics of the week and how it's going to run. So for this week, this is Module 1, which means Week 1, and we have the Introduction to the Science of Life. Let me change slides. There we go. So what are you going to do this week? First of all, you need to make sure you get your lab kit through the SNHU bookstore. Comes from Carolina Biological, which is really close to me. I'm in South Carolina and they're located in North Carolina. Be sure and get your lab kit. Open it up, go through it, make sure you have everything. There's a list under the very first item. When you open our course and you go into the modules, you'll see that the introduction to this course has a list of your lab kit supplies. The other thing that I want you to do is go into OpenStax. OpenStax is a free textbook website, and find the biology textbook, which will help you with the information for this course. Save this location so that you can go back to it and use it as a resource. It's the second edition biology textbook. It is absolutely free, so please use it as a resource. It's very good. It doesn't have as many pictures as a normal biology textbook does. I'll tell you that. It doesn't have as many images, but it has lots and lots of good information, and you can search for the information, which is awesome. So go to OpenStax and find that textbook. All right, then what? Introduce yourself in the discussion section. Please tell us lots about you so we can find connections between us. It's really important for us as a class to make connections with each other so that we can ask each other questions. You can find commonalities between you and other students, and maybe me too. I hope so. Also, be sure to answer the question that is included in that discussion and give your solutions to that question. That is graded. Sign your lab safety agreement after you read through the safety guidelines from Carolina Biological. And once you do that and turn it in, that is not graded. It's just either you did it or you didn't. And also take the safety quiz. It's the same way, not graded, but you get credit when you turn it in. All right, the next thing for you to do is, this is a lab, and so you're going to have lab reports. Review the lab report guidelines and rubric. And so this will tell you how you will be graded every week on your lab report or lab reports. It depends on the week. Sometimes you have more than one thing to do, so beware of that. Next, you're going to complete the lab on graphing. So I sat down and did this lab, and it took me at least an hour. And the guidelines for this lab say that it's going to take you 20 minutes for the first part, 20 for the second, 20 for the third. Okay, that equals 60 minutes. That's an hour for you guys. It may take you a little bit longer than an hour. So if it took me an hour, it may take you a little bit longer than that. I'm just saying. Whenever you turn in your lab reports, make sure that you turn in a single Word document for your lab report. And it really needs to be a Word document. I know that I've seen some PDFs already, but it needs to be a Word document if at all possible. And only one. There may be multiple pages that you have to turn in, including photographs of your work and things like that. But make sure you turn in a single Word document for each of your lab reports. Then you'll also perform the plop plop fizz fizz experiment using Alka-Seltzers. Y'all probably have never even heard of Alka-Seltzers. So they're still around. What they're used for is indigestion. when your stomach becomes too acidic. So I have put a link right here to the old commercial from the 1970s to give you an idea of why this particular experiment was called the Plop Plop Fizz Fizz experiment. And it's funny, so go and watch it. But do complete your experiment and realize that you're using 3 different temperatures of water to dissolve the Alka-Seltzer tablets in. And then you're going to design your own experiment and perform that, and then you'll write up all the results for everything. Remember that you'll turn this in as one Word document. All right, and then the other thing that I want you to do, because you need to be thinking about this ahead of time, is look at the final project information, and the first time we will see this is in Module 3. So go ahead and jump to Module 3 and look at those final project guidelines that is in Module 3. It tells you there to go to Ask a Biologist website at Arizona State University, and you have a choice of 4 different labs that you can base your final project on. The reason that these 4 projects were chosen was because they're fairly simple and fairly quick. You can design your own experiment. If you decide that you want to do something else, you can look on that same website, Ask a Biologist, and choose one of the many other experiments that they have, or you can design your own. I will give you a word of advice though. You don't want this taking up hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of your time. So I suggest you look at the 4 suggested labs first and see if any of them look good to you, to see if you could choose one of these and then modify it in some way to come up with your own unique experiment. And that's what the final project is. So be thinking about your project. Go ahead and look at this website, look at those 4 choices. And one of them is measuring the growth of caterpillars. If you do that one and you need to modify it, you're going to have to order the caterpillars from Carolina Biological, I'm assuming, and do that experiment on your own. So make sure you look at these experiments to choose the one that will best fit with your time, your experience, your interests. Okay, so please get started with that. If you do want to design your very own experiment on your own, you have to get this cleared with me, and that has to be done by next week. So if you're thinking about doing your own thing, then you need to be in contact with me, and we'll send some emails back and forth to get you going on that. But that's fine if that's what you want to do. That is perfectly fine with me. I love it when students design experiments. But that is totally up to you. Okay, and the last thing that I wanted to talk about was the scientific method, because they've got it broken down in the lab. I wanted to talk about a few of the steps. My head is being cut in half with a line, but that's perfectly fine. I wanted to talk about the scientific method and how it actually works and what are some of the most important steps in it. So when they say you come up with an idea, this thing just doesn't pop up in your head if you're a scientist. You have a lot of education in this area. You have read a ton of journal articles. So journal articles are all the research that's been done about this topic. And you just know it backward and forward, and then you come up with a good question to ask. It's not a simple process, and it takes a tremendous amount of background research to come up with a question to ask, and then to design really good experiments to test this idea of yours. The other thing, at least in the labs that they're giving you from Carolina Biological, they are requiring you to replicate the experiment. That means do it more than once. And usually in a biology lab, you'll only do an experiment one time. Okay, that's not how science works. Carolina Biological wants you to do it 3 times. That's awesome. That's not how many times you do an experiment either. You do it over and over and over and over and over again, making sure that you get the same results every single time. Because your reputation is on the line when you come up with a conclusion about this idea of yours and the results that you've gotten. So you have to replicate many, many, many times before you publish your work. Okay, then you come to a conclusion based on everything that you know about this topic and what you've seen in your experimentation. You come up with a conclusion. And you publish your work. Now that's terribly important in science. You publish your work in a journal. I just told you what journals were. So you publish your work in a journal. It's difficult to get your work accepted into journals. Sometimes extremely difficult. So there are lots of different ways to get your research published, and you have to do this because it has to be out there for the peer review process. Probably the most important part of the scientific method is peer review. You put your work out there for all the world to see. And then here comes the criticism. Well, I don't think it works because of that. I think it works because of this. Other people replicate your experiments. Or maybe they've done very similar experiments and they will critique what you've done. Why is this so important? Because it keeps everyone honest. Scientists are people, okay? Just like you, just like your neighbor, just like everyone that you know. They are people. They have ambitions, they have faults, they have quirks. If they do things wrong, they do things right, they do things ethically, sometimes they do things unethically. And so all of this needs to be checked, and it's checked by the peer review process. And then if you're found to be fraudulent or misleading or just wrong, then your peers will call you out on that. And so that's the very most important part of the scientific process. You won't have a chance to do that, which is, it's sad, but I mean, that's the way it goes with an introductory biology course. But I just wanted to emphasize certain parts of the scientific method to give you an idea that it's not quite so simple as the little steps that are always laid out for you. It's bigger than that, and it's more important than that, because this whole process has to be an honest evaluation of the science that's taking place in the world. And believe me, plenty of very high-powered scientists have been brought down by the peer review process. So I wanted to share that with you. I also want to encourage you, please, 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 if you need any help, if you have any questions, email me. Email me and let me know if you're struggling. Let me know if you need some help. Let me know if you're having some personal issues that you're struggling with and you can't get your work done. Please let me know. I'm here to help you. I promise that I can. I've done it so many times and I'll do it for you. So I'm here to help you. Let's have a great week. And like I said, if you have any problems, issues, questions, just let me know. I'll be glad to work through it with you. And have a wonderful week.